Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Honor with Heather podcast. You may have noticed I've been on a little bit of a hiatus lately. I've taken some time off just to focus on some things behind the chair as well as running the salon, but I am back with a couple new fresh episodes for you. I also will be continuing my hiatus, which I will talk about in a future episode, as I am going to be going traveling in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to Southeast Asia with my boyfriend, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll probably do like a recap of our trip at some point. But today we are diving into a huge issue in the beauty industry, something that every hairstylist has felt at some point or has dealt with at some point, and that is comparison on Instagram. We see flawless transformations, perfectly curated grids, gorgeous hair, and honestly, overnight success stories. But is that really the full picture? To break this down, today I'm going to be joined by Ashley Rose, who is a talented hairstylist based out of San Diego, California. Now, Ashley has been a two-time top 100 nominee for BTC One Shot, as well as she has recently made the top 100 of Modern Salon. We are so excited to welcome Ashley to the podcast. We're going to have an honest discussion about her career and how social media can both be overwhelming and inspiring at the same time. I am so excited to be joined here by Ashley Rose. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm so excited because I think we have such a good chat planned for today. But to start off, I'd love to hear a little bit more about you.
I am from San Diego, California. I've been doing hair for 15 years. I I feel like my Instagram career kind of like took off a couple years ago when I started learning a little bit more about hair photography and like trying to figure out the algorithm of Instagram. I'm going to tell you right now, I have no idea what I'm doing there, but we're all just kind of
Fair.
winging it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have a boyfriend. I have three cats. That is my life. I have an aunt, and I'm a hairstylist, and that's pretty much all I am.
That is amazing. I love how you and I have been able to connect through social media and we're sitting here, I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and you're in San Diego and we're able to have a conversation. It's so cool.
Right? Right? It is. It's really interesting. Like I've learned so many things about like through Instagram from other people who I have never met,
Yeah,
like
isn't it
in
so
person.
funny?
Instagram really is like a hub. It's so crazy to have this like community. I almost feel like my closest friends are on Instagram. If that like I've never met them. The
Yeah,
people I'm
I've
closest
made
to, I've
some
never met.
really amazing hairdresser friends,
Yeah,
other podcasters that I've met through Instagram, and they're all over the world, which I think is just the coolest thing.
yeah, yeah. It's really it kind of like the world is so vast and so large, but it's really small.
Yeah. So, how
So
long have you been doing hair for?
15 years.
Amazing.
I was 19. So after high school, I took a year off. And I don't think my parents loved that, but I did. I just kind of like had fun with my friends. I'm not a school girl.
Yeah.
Just I was really bad at it, which I think like most of us who are hairstylists,
Yep.
kind of didn't do great at school.
Hmm.
And so I took a year off. Definitely partied that whole summer. Summer of 2008 was like my favorite.
Yeah.
And I started cosmetology school. Fun fact, I didn't want to be a hairstylist. That was never my goal,
Yeah.
ever. I actually wanted to be a therapist, which I guess, like,
Pretty much
hand in
doing
hand.
that.
Hand in hand. Um, I had kind of fallen in love with a boy who was joining the Navy out here in San Diego. And it didn't work out between the two of us, but I had gone to cosmetology school in hopes that I would follow him wherever he went. That didn't work out. We broke up, I want to say, like within the first week of me starting
Oh,
cosmetology school. And then I was like, well, I've just spent all this money to do this. So why not? And I ended up being like pretty decent at it. I will say I didn't figure it out till years later. I think most of us don't figure it out till years later, right?
hmm
Some people are in cosmetology school great right off the bat. Not me. I was not that girl. I like thought I wanted to be a hair cutting specialist, and then I was just kind of like wandering in the hair world after I graduated, and then the color wheel just kind of clicked one day. This light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my gosh, this makes sense. And that's when, so I would say like maybe 7 years ago, things really started to be like, oh, okay, I really think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think it does take some time. Like I often tell our apprentices in the salon, like 5 years at least before you're really like, okay, I'm comfortable and I know what I'm doing, and most people can come in and ask for something, and I'll have
Yeah.
a general idea of what to do.
Yes. Yeah.
In that time, like when have you started like kind of paying more attention to the hair photography and the Instagram side of things?
Okay, so hair photography started about, I would say like 3 years ago. Um, I'm gonna shout out like a couple hairstylists
Please
that
do.
I had learned from. Shannon, I'm gonna butcher her last name. I think it's Dermont. Um, Shannon and Summer Laban, mainly Summer, that's her Instagram account. They had done a class at my salon that I was working at the time. And I don't know, I think there was something about this class that I was like, this is what I have to do. I have to get into hair photography. I have to get it's into hair editing. And we will talk about that because I think there's a lot of people out there who are like, editing your hair pictures is like a fake advertisement. It's not.
No.
Like, you have to edit pictures, and we'll talk all about that. But I think I thought that for a long time.
Yeah.
And I took this class with Summer and Shannon, and I was like, wow, this is where I'm going to elevate my Instagram. I was working at a salon that was very well known on social media, and I really had to like step up my game because
Yeah.
I was at a salon previous for 8 years that had no social media, none. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. I was probably the only one in that whole salon that posted on social media.
Oh my God. And now it's like you have to do Instagram.
You absolutely have to. I'm actually going to be teaching a posing like seminar thing out here in San Diego for this hair network, social network thing that Edge Academy does. Anthony Edge, I don't know if you know who that is. He's amazing. They have a haircutting academy and they put on a social every year. And I'm going to teach posing because people have no idea what to do. I didn't know what to do. I still don't know what to do half the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you
Like,
figured it out a little bit more.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
And then part of the reason like why you and I had connected, I think, is because we've both felt like we've put a lot of effort and time into our social media, and like it's really hard when you're in an industry that's so saturated and everyone is good. So how often do you find yourself comparing your work to what you see on Instagram?
Every day.
Same.
Like, this is,
Like
this
honestly, same.
isn't, there is no, I'm going to say, I don't think that there's a cure all for that. I think if you have any sort of, okay, I have imposter syndrome. I think a lot of us do,
Mhm.
especially social media, I think kind of exaggerates that because you're right, it is so oversaturated and you are constantly looking at other people's works. Like us in engagement groups, right? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, we met in an engagement group
Yep.
and you're watching all these people and I'm here for the support, don't get me wrong, but I'm looking at some of these things and I'm just like, wow, I don't know if I'll ever be that good. Or,
Mhm.
is my work even comparable to
Yeah.
this?
Will I ever have as many followers? Like,
Yes,
how do I make as much content as fast as so and so does? Does it ever make you feel discouraged?
always. I
Yeah,
think that
same.
like I think that social media, I think the pro and con of social media is it's a great tool for advertising. And it's so good to meet people and to market and network and all of that. But it also has the con of just making you feel this big sometimes because you don't feel like you're enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I literally had this happen to me the other day. I've been working really hard on launching some online courses. One in particular that like a lot of my staff have asked for, which is a like a money piece tutorial.
Yeah.
And I was like super proud of it, posted my video about my money piece tutorial, and then I had a marketing specialist post a video saying like online courses are not a marketing strategy. And like instantly I'm like, oh, okay, all the work that I put in, everything that I've done, I now feel like crap about. And like
Yeah.
probably has no intention to dig at me, but it's just like how quickly that can happen when you're just like taking on other people's content all the time.
Yeah. And the thing with Instagram is it's like it's ever changing. It's like
Hmm.
one thing that was working last week that we were like, yeah, we're totally on board for this and we finally figured it out is not working the following week. So
Yeah.
you're just constantly trying to revamp
Yeah.
what material you're putting out there.
Constantly just slinging mud at the walls, hoping something
Literally.
sticks, right?
Literally like something please go viral.
Please, like, please, I just want to be Instagram famous for being a
But
great
yeah.
hairdresser.
Yeah. And I just want my 15 minutes.
Yeah.
However, I also want to get onto the train of, when my career kind of started to take off last year. I feel like last year I got, or well, I guess within the last couple years. So the first like year, what year was that? 2023. I had made top 100 for behind the chair
Yes.
in two categories, and that was like the goal. And I was like, if I don't win, I'm fine. I made it and I felt good. Well, the following year I did not make it, and
Hmm.
I put in 30 entries. I will
Oh
never
yeah.
forget. I put in 30. I counted them, and I didn't make one category, and I was devastated. But I then made Modern Salon 100 of the beauty makers and game changers of the industry.
I saw
So
that and I was gonna say, first of all, congratulations. That's
thank
huge.
you.
And
Thank
like that must
you.
have felt so good.
It did, but I think the imposter syndrome is real because you start to think like, is it so good? Is it so big? Is
Yeah.
it like that big of a deal? Because in our hair world, yeah, that's a big deal. Out in the like to the public, they're like, I don't even know what that means. You
Yeah.
know?
And like I
And
can relate to your story so much because there was a year that I went to the BTC show. I took my apprentice, she's actually now my business partner. And I had put in so many entries. Didn't get a single nomination, had to go to the BTC show. They had the party for like the top 100 nominees. I didn't get to go. And it was a pretty devastating blow. I'm not going to lie. Like
yeah,
it really hurt my feelings. And the next year, I barely entered anything, and I actually got a top 100 in educational post, which was like the one category that I really cared about.
yeah,
Um,
congratulations.
Thank you. And then, yeah, this year I've decided that, I've made my goal of getting nominated once, and I'm good because I have a lot of other things that I'm focusing on, and
Right.
I don't feel that I need that recognition.
Yeah, and I think that like when you're climbing that ladder of success in the industry, you know, like you said, you weren't nominated one year and you were nominated the next, whereas I was nominated one year and then I wasn't nominated the next.
Hmm.
That high that you get from it and then that low, a lot of people don't talk about like the
No.
success is so quick. Like in you are successful this minute and then this minute you're like nobody.
Yeah.
And it's so taxing on your mental health.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, do you think that Instagram shows the full reality of what it takes to be a successful hairstylist? Like on this note,
No,
no,
not even like a fraction of it. I think, my boyfriend and I, about a year ago, I was like, I'm exhausted. And even current, like I'm dealing with this currently, like the burnout is
yeah,
absolutely real.
yeah,
And, I'm over here trying to like preach to people to find the balance between like your social life, your work life, your real life. Um,
mhm,
and I was like, I just feel like I'm working all the time. And he looked at me and he goes, well, you are.
yeah,
You wake up, you're getting ready for work. Your alarm goes off because I have alarms set at different times of the day to post because that's what my algorithm tells me to do. He
mhm,
goes, your alarm goes off. You go to work. You work all day. You do content there. You come home. You make dinner. Then you stay up until 11 o'clock at night, like in bed, uploading pictures from your camera, looking at videos on your phone, trying to make content for the week. He's
yeah,
like, and you do that almost every day. And it's a lot. It's exhausting. I mean, having, it's having one job in your, like, to the world, you have one job. To us, we have like 50.
yeah. And I think a lot
And
of people don't realize that.
no, no.
Do
To
you ever
edit,
feel pressured to post a certain type of content just because it's trending? Like because like one shot awards and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I think that I did until I realized that I'm not catching on to the trend fast enough.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like gave up. I was like, sometimes like I think we're in this movement that within like the last like couple months, and I've watched a lot of my social media friends, kind of be like post whatever you want,
Yeah.
do like post when you want, whatever you want, like nothing's real. And so I did start posting less. I do try to post pictures daily
Mhm.
because I just am holding on to the dream that Instagram's going to be about pictures again.
I would
Um,
agree.
especially because carousels, like people, like carousels are coming in. So I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
let's get
They're
on a
coming in
carousel.
hot.
Yeah, if I'm going to get on an easy trend, it's going to be carousels. Carousels are going to
Mhm.
be the easy trend. And then I try to post like 2 videos a week, but lately I have no creative brain for it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, it is what it is. You know, something will trend and then the next day it's not trending. So
Mhm.
why keep up?
Yeah. And I mean, on that note, how do you balance creating content for Instagram with actually working behind the chair? Because it's so difficult to do both.
It is. And I think that a lot of like I don't have an assistant.
Hmm.
Um I actually like I have a suite and I don't prefer to have an assistant. I've had a lot of conversations with my clients about it. And a lot of them, I have a good amount of clients that have left their previous stylist because they had assistants
Yeah,
and
because they have
weren't,
books.
yeah, and they weren't getting that time. And somebody told me at the very beginning of my career, it's the most sound advice I could give anybody. She said, you don't have to be the best, but they have to love you.
Hmm.
And if they love you, they're going to stay with you. And so that kind of changed my mentality of, well, then I only have so much time. You know what I mean? I can't they are spending their money on my time.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to have an assistant. I'm not going to have somebody that's going to be there recording for me.
But
Not
then you have to
being
do all that
but then
yourself.
I have to do it all myself. So literally I have two tripods, a ring light, one of those sticky things that goes on the mirror.
Yeah.
I probably use those things 3 times a month. It is so like I have invested so much into these things and I'm like, oh, I should probably record something. And I laugh when I go to these classes because they're like, well, like, if you record one 30-minute video, you have five different pieces of content. And I'm like, where?
Hmm.
Where do I have that? I don't, what do you mean I have that? I, what? How am I going to make fat? I don't understand. Some of these stylists, like, kudos to you guys. Like, you guys are incredible because I struggle.
It's hard because like people are constantly putting out like more and more new content every day, so it gets harder and harder to like be creative and show up. Like, how many days a week are you in your suite?
Um, I have no boundaries. So,
Yeah. So all the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
I would say some weeks I have like extreme boundaries, right? Where I'm like, nope, I'm tired. I really need to fucking stay home.
Yeah.
So I'll, stick to my regular schedule. And I usually would say I work about 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Um, I sometimes work 6 days. I sometimes am going in on my days off because again, I have no boundaries. Like I don't think, I come from a line of parents. My parental circumstance is very different. Both of my parents are separated, and then my dad has been married one other time, and he's been my stepmom since I was 4, and I'm 34. And my mom has been married twice since my dad, and I have five parents altogether. And I would say that the majority of my step parents they work very hard, and
Hmm.
they're very much from a generation that we are not from, where it's like work, work, work. You can not work later. You're young, work really hard now.
Yeah.
And I think now we're in this like weird place where we're trying to find work life balance and set boundaries mentally. And so, you know, there are times that I have guilt and I'm like, well, I'm off on Sundays and I have a suite. And if somebody can't get in during the week, I could get you in on a Sunday.
Oh,
when
it's
like
so
the
hard.
reality is I shouldn't be doing that. I should just be like,
Yeah.
no, 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 I have to like do my laundry and decompress and like, I don't know, do spreadsheets for my taxes. Like, you
It's so
know?
hard though as a solopreneur. Like I've been there and it can get very difficult. Like I definitely remember having days where I'm like, okay, well, I'm so busy. I'm working 6 days a week. But I have to. Like there's
Yeah.
no other option and there's nowhere else for those clients to go.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's emotional guilt, right? Like it goes hand in hand with like emotional discounting people,
Yeah.
right? Like we're so empathetic that we're like, well, and you have a family. Like I don't have a family. I don't have kids. I
I don't
have
have
a,
kids. I have some
oh
furry
yeah,
friends.
that's right.
But to your point, like I'm the same age as you. I'm 35 and my parents are boomers, right? So like
Yes.
I totally understand that like that pressure.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm like searching for the validation that I'm doing the right things with them. Like, because or like with society in general of like do like I should be relaxing and like but there's like this voice in the back of my head that's like no 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 you're young keep working.
I know, I'm the same. I have the salon and I'm behind the chair about 4 days a week now, so I have a bit of balance, but I'm also running a podcast and trying to write a book and like doing all these things and I'm like, oh, I just try to
Yeah,
like do
kudos
all
to
these
you.
creative projects. I'm like, I don't sit around and practice self-care and I really should.
Right.
One thing that I really wanted to ask you about, and you kind of touched on this a little earlier, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are on like heavily edited photos, editing photos in general, the use of filters, AI, like all that stuff in hairstyling posts.
Okay, so I think that the use of AI, like I'm not going to be able to have like a good because I don't really understand AI that much. I mean, when I think about AI, like I'm like, oh, ChatGPT, and
Mhm.
I'm just starting to get into ChatGPT. Let me tell you, ChatGPT might be one of the best things that's
Oh,
ever
we're friends with
happened.
ChatGPT. We
Yeah,
are.
we
Yeah.
are friends with ChatGPT. Um, heavily edited photos, so many people heavily edit their photos. And I think that there's heavily edited and then there's like enhancing what you see in person, right? Because first and foremost, I have a camera that most of my photos go on because my iPhone just can't be doing it. It just struggles. Even doing videos on my iPhone, I actually don't do a ton of videos for that reason. My iPhone just can't capture what I need it to capture.
Right.
And especially being a red specialist, a reds and copper specialist, your iPhone quite literally is going to cancel out all of those tones because it's not meant for that. It is meant for like selfies and like scenery pictures and like everyday life pictures. And the
Hmm.
first thing that we want to cancel out in our skin tones is the reds and the oranges. So doing hair, like having taking videos on my phone is so much harder, or pictures on my phone is so much harder. Now, I think that editing and enhancing, like I said, those are two different things. Editing, I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
It'll come in twos.
Mine always do too. They
Okay.
usually come because of bleach.
Yeah, right. Every time. Every time I'm in the salon, never fails. Um, so you know, I have multiple editing apps on my phone. I probably use Facetune the most.
I love Facetune.
I love Facetune. A lot of people use Lightroom. I just couldn't figure it out. I tried and it just felt a lot more complicated to me. Facetune just felt a lot more generic because I was trying to do very few things. So, darkening your backgrounds. I think that is something that is totally acceptable because you're trying to enhance the portrait of the photo, which is the hair.
Hmm.
Um, Vanishing parts of the background. And you know what? Let's be real. Vanishing parts of the hair, like those little flyaways
Yeah.
on the outside, like that you don't really want. Vanish those. I don't care. Now, it's when you start editing your portrait heavily, that is when I think things get tricky because that can go awry very quickly.
Like
You
editing your client, for example.
Yes, yeah. So
Hmm.
like your portrait's going to be the hair. The background editing, I don't feel like it's as bad as long as, everybody knows Balayage God, Sierra.
Hmm.
She's a good friend of mine. If I turn to her and I'm like, critique my page, she'll hurt my feelings in the best way possible. Okay.
It's like you want her to. It like hurts so
Yeah.
good.
So we were just at an event together and she goes, you blur the background too much. I was like, okay. So I'm like, it's all about the what people like see, right? Like, and if I'm like blurring the background too much, it creates like a halo glow,
Right.
you know? So I think that minimal editing is important because what I see in person and what I see on the camera are going to be two different things. And I really want them to match as best as I possibly can
Hmm.
because that person's my walking advertisement. I don't want them to be out in the world and someone be like, that's not what your hair looks like on the internet at all.
Now, do you think that it gives clients like an unrealistic expectation, or does it depend on the situation?
I think AI does. I
Yeah,
think
oh, for sure.
AI is becoming like the bane of my absolute existence when it comes to Pinterest and people who are trying to give like send me inspos. I'm like, please stop. If this hair looks really like stripy,
Hmm.
and glowy, it's not real. It's
Yeah.
not a real piece of hair.
We've been having that conversation in the salon a lot, like where we'll just like kind of look at some photos and like look at them with a very critical eye. And like my our salon manager, she laughs a lot because she sees these things that people bring in that are just absolutely fake. They're not realistic. And then they're like, well, this picture has it. And it's like, yeah, but like nobody's hair goes that white without snapping off unless it's gray hair.
Right. Right. Like I do think that editing can create like this really unrealistic expectation, and that's why I think to uh, it's so difficult for us as hairstylists to kind of like back editing while also feeling like it's wrong. Does that
So
make
how can
sense?
we be like more transparent with clients about that?
Listen, I'm just kind of like no.
Yeah.
Like my client sat in my chair the other day. I love her. And she likes to be light. Her hair is a level like 2, 3. Okay. And she wants to be a 10. But she also gets bored. And so she's like, I want a block because color blocking has become like my thing, right? She goes, I
Hmm.
want a brown block, like right here. And I'm like, no, not gonna do that. And she's like, why? I'm like, because you're gonna tell me you want to go lighter. And I don't care how many toners I put on there or if I like am stripping the hair, it's going to be a process to get you back to where you want to be. If
Hmm.
I don't feel like things are realistic for my clients, I will tell them that's not realistic. I think that we need to get out of this era where hairstylists, they are just needing, they want the work so bad that
Yeah.
they're like willing to say that they can do something and they can't. If you can't deliver it, that's okay. It is okay to say that you can't deliver something because that is beyond your ability.
Yep.
You
I
know,
mean, I'm pretty much
I,
at the point where I don't want to lift out black box dye ever again in my career. You know?
right. I tell people all the time when they come to me, they're like, oh, I love this blonde. I'm not a blonde specialist. I live in California. I promise you, there's like a billion of them here.
Yeah.
It's not going to be me. And I had to get to a point in my career where I understood myself enough and understood my ability enough and was confident enough in my ability to turn to somebody and say, I cannot deliver what you want.
Hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that we feel like failures when we say that. We're not failing. We're failing them if we
Yeah.
feel like if we say we can deliver something we can't. I'm failing that client. And why am I taking their hard earned money? Because it is hard out here. People
Hmm.
don't have money to just be pouring into luxuries. So I am all about like I will recommend other stylists for clients. If they're like, I want this and I can't deliver that and they really want it that bad, I'll be like, here's a list of 3 people that I think can give that to you.
Yeah. I think that's like, the most responsible thing that we can do. And I mean, like on that note, how do you remind yourself that your work is valuable even if it doesn't look like someone else's? Like you're a red specialist, you're not a blonde specialist. Like how do you find that value in what you do that's unique?
I think that I have my clients are really incredible. I will say that. I think that I'm a lot harder on myself than I think a lot of people realize. I think we're all really hard on ourselves, right?
Mhm.
And I try to exude like a certain amount of confidence because that's how you make it in life. But the reality is I'm a human being,
Yeah.
and some days I cry. and I feel like I am absolutely never going to amount to what I want to. Um, Other days I'm like, yeah, I'm that fucking bitch. Let's
Yeah.
fucking go.
Yeah.
Like, but I do say like all of my clients, like they really are good at knowing my love language of words of affirmation. And
Hmm.
a lot of times I sit with my feelings. I think that to in order to grow, you sit with your feelings and you sit with your emotions and you have to listen to your body and your mind and your heart. And if you're not doing that, then you're just in survival mode at all
Hmm.
times.
Absolutely.
So I cry. That's what I
Yeah.
do.
How do you have you ever taken a break from Instagram?
I did. And I will tell you, I am so sad to admit it destroyed my mental health.
Like
It
taking the break.
just, huh?
Taking the break.
Yeah. Not to say that you shouldn't. That's
Hmm.
not saying I do stand, as a matter of fact, in order to strengthen that, I should take more breaks.
Hmm.
But the break shifted my engagement. And
Yeah.
that is what I was like, wow, if you are checking your engagement, I had to chill. I had to be like,
Yeah.
that little number went from 93,000 to 15K. And I was like, I'm
Yeah.
irrelevant. Nobody cares about me. I'm nothing. Um, I'm just a stylist and like I'm never going to be on behind the chair and I'm never going to be this, that, or the other. So I think that you have to understand, like taking the break is to understand that things are going to shift. And if you're taking the break because you're tired and you're burnt out, then don't check your engagement after that.
Yeah.
To,
Absolutely.
I think that the engagement stuff is a real mental struggle. It's a
Hmm.
huge struggle to feel like you're not being seen.
And I think it's so hard because there's so many stylists that want to be recognized for their good work. And, in a way, a platform like Behind the Chair does do that and does give space to like stylists who maybe haven't, for lack of a better term, gotten their big break. But in a lot of ways, like I don't know that they realize like how many stylists all over the world are like crushed when they don't receive that recognition. And I wonder if there's like a way in which they could do more. Now they probably don't have to because they're a massive business, but I do wish there was more opportunity for everybody, I guess.
I think that Behind the Chair, I remember when Behind the Chair came out, and I remember like them liking my stuff, and I was like, wow, this is like kind of a big deal. And now it's like a whole different ball game because they don't like my stuff as much anymore. I didn't hop on the train when they came out because I didn't understand Instagram the way that I do now. And so I think a lot of people kind of hopped on the Behind the Hair train at the beginning, and those people are the ones that stuck. Now it's so saturated. There's so many people that it's really hard to be seen. I will say that their approach this year, I think, is going to shift a lot of things.
Hmm.
The way that they did it, well, and everyone remembers the fiasco from last year when like they realized that their hashtags were being like shadow banned and like nobody like there was like a large portion of people that like weren't being seen. So
Hmm.
then they created the website.
Yeah.
And now like this year, you said you weren't entering, correct?
No, I'm taking a year off.
Good for
I
you.
think for me, like personally, I'm trying to focus on like running my salon and like being a good mentor for all of these like young
Yeah.
stylists
Yeah.
and my podcast. So I'm just kind of shifting my
Good
perspective
for you. Because
there.
next year,
Mhm.
when you do, or if you decide, they will probably have it a little bit more together.
Yeah, and I
But
want to encourage our stylists to do that too, because like I have a stylist who works for me, and she's like, "Is it even worth entering?" And I'm like, "No," but like I don't want to discourage her from it either, because like,
so this year, they have the website, and you are only allowed to enter three per category,
okay,
which I think is huge because it gives them one, they have a lot less to look at, right?
yeah,
Like it gives people much more of a shot. I think that the website is great
Mhm.
because you're not being shadow banned.
Yeah.
Like they are going through everything piece by piece. The three entry thing, it's there's a pro and a con. The pro, you're going to be a lot more noticed. The con, I can't pick three pictures. It is so freaking hard to
Yeah,
pick
and it's hard,
just
I suppose,
three.
too, because like what you might see as your three best pictures, if like someone like Mary from behind the chair was looking at it, her perspective could be different, and she might
100%.
be like, you should have chosen three different pictures. So I
Absolutely.
can see how that would be difficult.
In one of I do find that I get a lot of engagement like in my stories. That's probably where I get the most engagement of my Instagram. And I have actually had like people vote which pictures I should put
Yeah.
in, which is like one of my favorite things to do. But sometimes I'll be looking at the votes and I'll be like, the picture one is winning and I like picture two. And picture one is being voted by all my clients and pictures two being voted by all hairstylists. And, and I'm like, I have to go with picture two,
Yeah.
even though it's like losing. And I like feel guilty for that, right? I'm like, all these people vote for my stuff so that you can help me, but I'm going to go against everything you just voted for because hairstylist picked this one
Yeah.
and I
We
trust your
see things
opinion.
through a different lens, right?
Yeah,
What
definitely.
advice would you give to a newer stylist who feels like they're not good enough when they're being like when they compare themselves to what they see online?
This is my favorite thing in the world. This is probably my favorite question. It's something I really want to talk about when I do my seminar with Edge Academy. First and foremost, I need everyone to remember that art is art.
Yes.
Your expression of art versus my expression of art are different. And that does not devalue your art. Just because mine looks this way and yours looks this way, that's your art. That is your masterpiece. It is not comparable to mine. Just as
Preach.
my art is not comparable to yours. How
Hmm.
I view art and how you view art are very different. So that's the first thing. Second thing, Instagram's not real. It's not your real life. It's just your marketing tool. Just because people are not out there putting you on magazines does not mean you're not worth it. And it does not mean you are not good at your job. It just means their algorithm is not with yours yet.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with what you are putting out there. I think that always be open to constructive criticism, not hate, and always try to better yourself, continue your education. Even looking at the pictures from when I first started doing hair photography and like really diving into it, and people are like, wow, your pictures look so good, to now, those are very different pictures now. I have evolved from having terrible pictures to much better pictures to much better pictures, and they
Hmm.
all look different. The evolution looks so different. So things that I thought looked so great 2 years ago, I look at now and I'm like, God, I really want to re-edit that. That's okay. That doesn't mean that it was bad then either.
Yeah.
It's still beautiful. Everything you're doing is still right. Set your boundaries now because the farther you get into this industry, the worse it's going to get. And don't think about Instagram as a way to be seen by people that don't matter. Think of
Yeah.
it as a way to market yourself. I follow Lisa Giles. I don't know if you do Life of Lisa. She's really vulnerable online, and I very much admire that. And I think that being yourself on the internet is really important for the industry.
I agree. Especially when you're trying to build a clientele, right?
Absolutely. People want to love you.
Yeah. What goals do you have for your career this year?
None.
I love
None.
it.
I actually, when I was at an event, there was a TED talk, and the girl was they were talking about her big goals, and I identified with her so much because she's like, I don't have big goals. I never have big goals. I will set myself up for disappointment if I don't make those big goals. I don't even know how to goal set. I will be 100% honest. I don't know how to goal set. I just do things, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I am here to live. I am not here to be a robot, and feeling like I have to climb the ladder. Whatever is meant for me is going to come my way. And once it gets here, I'll figure out what to do with it then.
That sounds like perfect. I honestly think that's the best. Where can our where can our listeners find you, Ashley?
Um, Instagram, um, at Rosie's Locks, Rosies. Everyone forgets the S because they think it's Rosie Locks. It's Rosie's Locks, Locks. And you will watch me on my stories talk about Love is Blind a lot. Um, and maybe the occasional personal stuff. And I'm trying to do photo dumps now. Photo
Nice.
dumps, I think, are like really in, and it shows a little bit more about your life. So, stay tuned for things that don't matter and things that do.
I love it. Thank you so much for chatting with me
Thanks
today.
for having me. I've never done anything like this. This is the first time I've ever done this. So it's been super fun and super cool. I do hope to kind of like talk more with people about Instagram and their mental health with it. I don't think I have like a set conversation or like a set like what is it, like lesson plan about it. Just,
Yeah.
I'm just here for whoever needs to talk about social media and how it's ruining your mental health and to remind you that it's not real and you are worthy.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.